and we are going to get started. All right, so thank you again for logging in to our LeadGen series. You'll notice that this time around I'm on my own. Poppy and Angel bailed on me. No, that's not true. This topic wasn't necessarily a conversation as much as just an opportunity to share some of the abilities and kind of the history and what aggregators are and why they're important in our business. And I've done this presentation for many, many years. So I'm going to take this one alone this time and see where we go. I'm nowhere near as charming or as funny as the two of them, but I'll do my best. So wrestling aggregators, again, is a course that came about probably 2006 or 7 when the change in our industry started happening regarding how information was out there, what our role was as an agent, and it's emerged, it's evolved rather over time, and it has continued to change. And even yesterday, I was looking up new numbers and new information to try to help us all get a sense on what this thing is and how it relates to our business. And it does seem to change on a pretty routine basis. So we're going to go through a few things. A reminder that this is part of a longer series, and if you're new and you've just started jumping in here, we got a couple of new people who have logged in now. Please go check out the rest of the series, because there's going to be parts of this class that I would normally go through and kind of do this, how do we convert leads and what do we do with it once we got them, that we've addressed in other parts of the LeadGen series. So feel free to go back and watch those. Again, this is part of that program. And yeah, this will be posted probably in the next 48 hours for you to share with, for the manager to share with agents in your office, or for you to encourage your fellow agents to take a listen. So we've had this emergence, this kind of new evolution of technology over the past decade or so. And I want to tell you that most of the industry, and I've got a little Aristotle quote that we all know, nature hoards a vacuum, on there, because this was an answer, these aggregators were an answer to an industry-wide problem that the consumer was facing. So let's kind of start with the basics of what we're talking about. Prior to 1996 or so, real estate was very much a closed door. There was a gate on it. If you, the purchaser, wanted to know what homes were out there, you had to go to an agent. They were able to look at generally a book, or they knew what the inventory was, particularly in their office. And you were pretty much limited as a buyer as to what was on the market to the knowledge of your particular agent. And if they didn't know what was going on, if they were part-time, if they didn't have the book or hadn't reviewed it lately or didn't know what was going on in the neighborhood or their office inventory, you didn't know what was out there. And then somewhere in the 90s, you started seeing this MLS arise, and it became more digital. And when I got licensed in 2003, we were still on dial-up. So to put information in, you had to have small pictures because they had to upload over a telephone line. To make edits, you had to get back to the office, connect the computer to your telephone line, kick everybody out in the house off the line so you could dial in, and then spend 30 minutes uploading one picture and changing the status. And the information went out of the hands of the agent at that point, of just the books in their office or their knowledge of the office inventory, into a database that other agents could log in and see content. And then very quickly that emerged into a much more broader and robust group of listing and data information. And then it got to the point where systems like Realtor.com emerged and were able to take that data and put a limited amount of it out on the internet. And we call that the aggregator. The listing content went from the MLS to the website. At the time, it was house.com and realtor.com in the late 90s. And then in the early 2000s, you started seeing a couple other little systems come up that were trying to get that information out there, and agents were putting it on their own sites manually and whatnot for consumers who were largely now migrating over to the internet, away from the newspaper and to the internet. So the aggregator was aggregating data and taking it from one point and putting it in some type of portal. And as that emerged, as evolved, we started to see disruptors emerge who are saying realtors probably don't need to be the gatekeepers anymore. They should not be the one and only place that a buyer could see seller's data, because there's too much room for mischievousness or nefariousness to occur. And the agent may be presenting properties, and this actually was occurring quite frequently. The agent was only showing properties where it was either their listing, they liked the other agent, or there was a compensation they felt was proper for their service offered for the home. And so the buyer may or may not have even known that a property existed. And so these disruptors, Realtor.com, Zillow, and actually a pretty ubiquitous number of websites came about to stop the gate, be an intermediary between the gate of the agent and the consumer, and open it up so that agents are then left with our services, our negotiation, our knowledge of contract and local customs and those types of things to present the client, not merely force the client to come to us only because we were the only ones with the data. Now, you're going to hear as your career, for those of you who are new and those who have been around for a while, you've already heard this, a lot of apprehension and some negativity from real estate agents regarding sites like Zillow and Realtor and the rest. And yes, everyone is still a little irritated the fact that we lost the ability to be gatekeepers, and now the data is out there, and it's fairly robust. And the consumer could actually walk into your office today and know more about the property than you do. And certainly they may know more about it because they're going to see photos and listing information, and it's impossible for all of us to know all the listings and all the information that's out there. So it made us have to work a little harder to be up to date in things. But let me just stop here and say this. There are going to be more and more disruptors as time goes on in our business, more people who want to modernize it. And as technology becomes more invasive, more consumers and third-party companies who are going to want a piece of changing and evolving this 107-year-old industry. And a lot of it's good. Some of it's not so good. A lot of it's good. We are looking at a path that will probably take us away from having any type of localized MLS and more national database, and sharing that same database with FSBO users and all the rest, so that we're again left with our services and tools. Now, I, as an educator, as a broker, take a little bit different view than others. Yes, I know that some of the estimates and some of the data that's out there on these aggregators may be inaccurate, usually is inaccurate. But that's simply part of the trade-off of having this national database in this world in front of us now. There are benefits to it, and that's the approach we're going to take today, is how to use these tools to better our practice and certainly better our sellers' opportunity to sell their home. Now, there have been companies over time, and most of them have dissipated, but there were some other companies who were maybe a little larger, who over a period of time have decided we're going to stop aggregating. We're going to stop giving the data from MLS to these other third-party products. Almost all those companies have come around to find that they were very disadvantaged, and that sellers wanted to see their listing on Zillow and Realtor and Trulia and all the rest. And that if the agent, no matter what the agent or broker was able to say about their own protectionist mentality, the seller wasn't going to listen to it. They wanted buyers to see their listing in the best light possible on the portals. So it caused us, whether we wanted to or not, to start to embrace and start to engage these disruptors in the real estate industry. And this is nothing new. This is over 20 years of aggregators. Homes.com first registered their site in 1994. Limited data, but they had a lot of listings. And in 1996, Realtor.com established themselves as a portal for listings. Now, just to take a minute as we're talking about Realtor.com, it's important for those of you who may not have this context, to understand that Realtor.com is not owned by the National Association of Realtors. As a matter of fact, the name Realtor is leased by Realtor.com, Realtor.com, who is owned by a company called Move Incorporated, whose parent company is News Corp, and owned by Bernie Murdoch. Is not owned by NAR and in fact leases the name. Now, they do give some privilege to the National Association of Realtors in having concaves with them to talk about how their business should be done and having some guidelines that they had to adhere to because of the use of the name Realtor. And so they do provide some services to the association and some financial income to the association. So there is some influence, but it's not owned by us, only the name. And in 1996, they came onto the site, into the industry and onto the internet, and they were doing a whole lot better than Homes.com was. They started making better relationships. They started getting multiple listing services to give them direct feeds. They started standardizing the kind of language that we use. And I don't have a slide for it, but what you do need to remember is the term IDX. IDX is called it's Internet Data Exchange. It is the protocol, the computer protocol that permits data to be transferred from multiple listing services to various websites, including your own. Each of you have a Coldwell Banker Elite agent, have data already made on your Zap websites, and for those of you who have upgraded to the Playster sites, you've got listing data from the MLS. That technology and that protocol, the IDX protocol, is the same one that permits those listings to come from MLS to your website as they do from MLS to Realtor, Zillow, Trulia, and all the rest. So in 1996, Realtor.com was pretty much dominating the market. And in Realtor.com had 4 photos and very limited information and maybe not even displaying the address of the home, just the city, state, or area. And in order to get more information out of it, all the way up until about 2005, you had to give information. You actually had to say, here is my name, here's my email address, here's my phone number. And when you hit submit, you got emailed some information, and then you were able to see that listing, all of their photos, and all the information. And Realtor.com was designed to fill a void. And as I quoted Aristotle earlier, the void was that agents were not doing this. Agents were not putting that information out there, even though the consumer wanted it. And every other industry was putting information on the internet so that the consumer could find it. Realtors were not. So Realtor.com said, look, agents by and large do not have the technological ability, the income, the knowledge, or the desire to put this data out there. So we're going to do it. And we're going to do it, and we're going to pay for it by asking realtors to pay a fee. It'll go direct to sellers for free, but we're going to ask the realtors to pay us some money to get the leads from their listings, because agents, again, don't know how or don't want to put the money or the effort to learn how to get those leads. We'll do that, and we'll just charge them a portion of their income for this privilege of being in our system. Therefore, the agents themselves don't have to do it. And agents started doing just that. They started paying for the leads. And a lot of them, and you'll still see them today if you go look at Inman or if you talk to a lot of realtors, especially those who've been around for a bit, are very, very irritated that they have to pay for, quote unquote, their leads. But they're not your leads. You're not cultivating them. You don't have the web page. You don't have the technology out there that these other larger companies have generated and focused on just to generate contacts from clients. And it's not simply putting together a website and putting data. They do a lot of testing and SEO and user interface, and they know who their client is. So that's what essentially you're paying for when you pay into these services to get those leads back. And you can elect to do that or not. But these intermediaries, these aggregators who have introduced themselves between you and the client to get that information, anyways, we have to look at embracing these particular disruptors. Sorry, someone was sending me a text to let me know that they were actually okay to hear me. Normally I get texts to say that you're struggling with it. So I'm going to turn that off and assume we're all okay. So that was in 1996. And in 1996, they were piddling along. And again, up until 2005, about 9 years later, is when they really started to change their business model. It became more expensive. They were able to master a little bit more the retention of clients. And then Zillow came into market. Now, Zillow was introduced by 2 executives. One was named Rich. I don't remember the other one's name, who were formerly working for Microsoft. And then they left Microsoft, and then they went and worked in some other big projects you would probably recognize. And then eventually they said, we're going to do Zillow. And their premise was a story that either they or a family member were working with an agent. The agent routinely told them homes that they saw for sale weren't actually available, only to find out that the homes were available, but maybe the commission wasn't high enough, or there was a company different than what their agent wanted to work with, and they said there's got to be a better way. And they didn't like Realtor.com because they still had that stigma of being realtor-owned and realtor-ran, and very, very limited information being delivered. You had to give up some of yourself as a consumer to get it back. Zillow said, we're not going to do that. We're going to put all the data we can gather on the internet, all the pictures that the agents upload, and all the content. And as much as, again, there's practitioners who don't like this, it did push us to do things much differently. All of a sudden became far more important to put as many high quality photos as you could. And then it was video, and then it was better descriptions to capture Google's attention and convince the buyer to come see the house. And all of a sudden we went from spending weeks and evenings driving buyers around and having to describe things to them, show them pictures, to allowing them to now decipher online what was worth seeing and what was not, and knowing that there's nothing else hidden, and knowing that there was a full database that they could go and get data from. So Zillow really opened up the doors, and they compelled us to that higher bar. And I know that's not something most people want to talk about, but we had to learn to be better promoters of the property and take better photos, because we knew that was making the difference, whether buyers saw the house or not just the commission and the price in the neighborhood anymore. And so now we see from photos, we then saw virtual tours get added, and virtual tours then emerge into full-on videos. And now videos are going into augmented reality, where you can look on your phone in goggles and look around a house. And all these technologies have been progressively moving because the consumer wanted to see it on a screen before real life. And seeing the success that Zillow was starting to have, Trulia said, okay, we can do that too. And it's important to note here that Trulia a few years back was then purchased by Zillow. So Trulia is owned by Zillow, and they're nowhere near as popular as they used to be, but they're still really active online. And Zillow is just maintaining both sites for now. And then lastly, I've added Redfin here, because these are going to be the top 5 that you probably see your listings on online. Now, when we look at actual activity online for these sites, this is a monthly traffic rate according to Statistia.com, which is an independent company. And we get some bloated numbers from these folks. When Realtor, Zillow, Trulia, anybody's trying to sell us buy or ad space or buy space, we get numbers that they've developed on their own. So we used a third party to kind of calculate these. But those numbers are still pretty staggering. 36 million unique visitors a month on Zillow is massive. That is a huge amount of traffic. So 36 million on Zillow, 23 million on Trulia, 18 million on Realtor.com, 6 million on Redfin, and 5 on Homes. Now, Home has really struggled, and this is probably a good lesson for a different class, but Homes.com never really found their unique stride. They just existed. They just put that out there. Where Zillow and Trulia and Realtor added lots of features and things for the consumers, Homes.com was the first, but they're just barely hanging on out there, because they just haven't innovated yet. But Redfin is on our list. Redfin has 6 million views, and if you're in a marketplace like we are, where DC's Redfin is an influence here, you'll see them come up pretty heavily in search results, and you're going to get clients who do refer to their site quite a bit. The site's actually pretty good. But they're an aggregator in that they collect data, but they collect it for their firm and their industry, their group rather, as opposed to Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, and Homes, which develop them for anybody and any agent who wants to buy into it. Now, Redfin had 6 million views only because they only exist and they only focus on populated areas and high marketplaces with lots of people there. So you don't see them in the Midwest as much. You don't see them in other places of the country, although they could have the data and still promote it. It's not quite as influential as it is in their few markets that they are mastering right now. But it's still an influencer, and it still has a lot of natural traffic on it. So again, just for this perspective, 36 million views in Zillow, 18 million in Realtor. For the rest of our time this morning, I'm going to focus only on Zillow and Realtor. Trulia is, all the rumors are, it's going to be shut down soon enough, and most of that is being run by Zillow anyways, and there's not a whole lot you can do there that you can't do in other ones. Just a side note, do make sure your Trulia profile is polished and up to date. We'll talk about why it's important later, but other than that, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time there. Zillow and Realtor tend to be the biggest lead generation sites out there and have the bulk of the traffic in upcoming months. So this is where we're only going to focus on these two when we go into more practical stuff for the rest of our time. So I want to start off with the client's behavior. And again, we did a whole module of this in the LeadGen series, so I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time here other than to say we know that 97%, according to NAR, 97% of consumers start their search, whether they're buying or selling, on the internet. And most of them are lingering on Zillow and Realtor most of the time. We know that 67% of those folks are using a mobile app. So once they get off the internet, once they get to Zillow and they poke around for a while, they eventually download the Zillow app, and that's what they use for the remainder of the time. So we know they're highly mobile. We know they are searching homes standing in front of them. And we know that they do this primarily in the evenings, late in the evening. So between 8 and midnight are our highest focus of leads that come from these online aggregators. The important note for you to remember as a practitioner is we're going to talk later about responses to this, and we've done a conversion class. Remember, web page, we already covered that topic pretty heavily. But you need to remember that you've got to be responsive when the consumer's inquiring. So waiting to the next day to answer those inquiries isn't good. They're going to keep going and asking for feedback on that listing until they find somebody to call them back. Typically, every 10 minutes, they are clicking an inquiry button on one of these sites during their search period. So 10 minutes is a max. You really should be down to 7 minutes of responding to leads. And you can do this automatically with certain services. Again, we've mentioned that in other classes, but you need to know they want to answer quick. If they've seen it online and to make an inquiry, there's a high chance that they wish to purchase it. And because they've also seen 200 other properties just like it, there's something unique about this one that's piqued their interest, and that should be your first question to them is why this home? They are, by and large, going to continue searching. So even if you've made that initial contact, there's probably other agents that they're inquiring about, and so you need to be able to stand out with them. So quick response times off business hours are typically when this happens. Why do they love these sites? Well, they love the site because it's, of course, direct data. They don't get it. They feel as if it's unfiltered. They feel like they're getting the information they want right now in their hands right now, and that it's something that is giving them some control in a industry that they're previous generations have not had control in. It does challenge the status quo, again, because they feel more empowered. They feel like they don't have to go through a more traditional model of waiting for an agent to show them and get back to them, and they can decipher information online. They don't waste their time by going to 10 houses that you pick for them. Instead, they're going to be able to choose the homes their own on their own. It can be entertaining. We have, and if we look at, and we'll look at just a minute, the next slide will be the journey of the buyer. They could be 18 months to 24 months before they've decided to buy or sell, dreaming about certain homes. And some people really just like looking at homes. Some of you as agents, I know when we've taught your pre-licensing classes, have said, I just really enjoy going online and looking at homes or watching HGTV. The sites ask for little or nothing in return. If you want to ask for information, more information than what's available, you can push a button and enter some information, but pretty much all you need is right there. It's transparent. They don't feel like it's filtered or there's people hiding listings. It gives them some satisfaction of the value of their own home that they're in or their own community that they're in, and it's immediate feeling. So they can go and say, hey, look, my house is actually worth more than I thought it was, and I feel pretty good about that. And then lastly is market security. They can feel whether price and trends are going up and down as they look. They love these sites. Most do. And it's not just Gen X and Gen Y, by the way. It is all generations visit and linger on Zillow and Realtor.com. As a reminder, in their client journey, with the buyer who in their first phase, about 13 months before purchasing, start just kind of hinting around. And we have information that's even as far out as 18 months when they're calling lenders and agents before they start looking at phase one. Phase two, about 2 to 7 months when they're actively researching. That's when they're actually getting lender letters, interviewing agents, wanting to get into houses, visiting open houses. And then phase three is buying, which is about 5 months, a 5-month process. So a total of 21 months altogether on average from the notion of buying and starting the first action until actually settling and closing on a home. Sellers have some similar numbers. I don't spend a lot of time in this session because by and large, the leads that come from aggregators are buyers, but you want to make sure you're promoting the seller the best you can. So what they do not do, what aggregators, the needs that the consumer has that they don't meet that are left to you and I, is hyper-local information. They don't cover the what sports events are going on. They don't cover what Oktoberfest is downtown. They don't cover what standard practices or customs are, or how close to a school or church or something is. They don't provide meaningful follow-up. They don't answer questions, generally speaking. We'll talk about the exceptions in a bit. They are not a CRM. Those aggregators are not looking to manage and curate a relationship with the clients beyond getting that lead information and selling it back to you. And they rarely educate the client. There are some exceptions we'll talk about in a bit. You and I have an obligation to offer a better experience. When they go to our site, we have to give them those things from the previous slide that they can't find on the aggregate websites. So when we go to websites, we need to know utility information. And I'll show you, for example, haven't launched the site yet. It's just been a hobby for a while, but I'm gonna show it to you anyways. Perhaps if the internet loads. There we go. Okay. So for example, for buyers on this site, I've got a list of service providers, and they can click here and they're going to see these are the people I recommend for services, right? For lenders and such. This is searching for your home, search MLS. If they're buying a new home, information about what they should be considering when they're purchasing a new home. Smart home information, what's valuable, what's not, what should they look for, and if they are buying a home and they see gadgets on the wall, what do they mean? Area utility information. So I can click here and find out who the water and sewer, electrical company, internet company. And if they're military reload, I've set up a whole new resource for them on here as well. And then here's mobile apps they can use to help with their search. And of course, that's my mobile app on there, some other tools. Some buyer resources, things they need to know about radon or lead-based paint or questions they have. And then just information about market statistics in the area. So again, this is a work in progress. So if you do visit my agent, Matthew, understand I know it's not complete. I got to update a bunch of stuff. It's just been a hobby that I've been working on. So, and free time. So this information is stuff that isn't on the aggregators. And that's actually a question I ask myself when I'm putting information on the web page. Is what can I provide to them that they cannot find on Zillow and Realtor? Why would they come here and bookmark this page and want to come back to it? And that's what determines what I put on the site. All right. So we have to offer a better experience. And you have a mobile app, and you have several options for mobile apps as which one is your particular favorite. You have to have a good response plan. You need to know when they made that lead, what they're looking for, and how to respond well to it. And there's tools out there like 5 Street and some others that could work for you. You can make Zap work for you for CRM and responses. And it's just a matter of what you want to invest time and effort in. Now, remember what I said, when you put your listing into MLS, MLS has a relationship, and in our case, MRIS, or now Bright MLS, has a relationship with ListHub, which is a third-party curator that takes the data stream from MLS and then publishes it out to hundreds and hundreds of other websites. And so your client could be finding your information on a pretty broad variety of websites. And you could kill yourself trying to get all these together and all these right. But again, of all the sites out there, they've almost diluted the data a little bit, and people just go to what they know, which is Zillow and Realtor.com. So we're going to start Realtor.com. And I have no idea why I didn't delete that. Start at Realtor.com. So Realtor.com is very clean. They know what they're all about. When you get here, their splash page is, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to rent a house? Do you want to see what just sold in your neighborhood? Do you want an estimate in your home? Click here. And then when you click there, you enter your information, and they send you the information you're looking for. And then they send it to you, the agent, as a lead. So they know what they're about. Realtor.com also allows you to create a profile, and I cannot say this enough, and we tell each of you as agents to do this within the first week of getting your MLS access. Because once you get your MLS access set up, then the MLS populates Realtor, Zillow, and all the rest with the fact that you are a licensee, and then you can go claim your profile and set it up. And you should absolutely spend your time making sure your bio is right, your profile picture is right, professional, clean, and high definition, and then spend an hour or two prettying up these sites. So especially Realtor, Zillow, and Trulia, those are important sites to make sure you have nice, polished profiles on there. If you have not done that, and a client goes to search for you or look you up when they're considering you to list a home, they're going to look and say, if they can't keep track of their own marketing and they don't have a presence on Realtor or Zillow, how can I trust them to market my own property or work with me to see a property? So again, these are very important, and I'm going to show you now how to go do that. So I've borrowed Angel's Realtor.com and Zillow process. We're a team, and she lists our properties. So I wanted to use that to show what that looks like too. So that's why you'll see her log in here. So under profiles, go to manage profile. Once you log into Realtor.com, when you're on the front page, you'll just click on login and real estate agent. And if you don't have an account, it'll walk you through setting it up. This is, as you can see, a profile picture of Fredericksburg, because you want hyper-local stuff for where you work there. Information about her and her contact information, make sure that's correct. on there, and make sure you finished your bio. So it's not real hard. It's literally fill in the blank. And if you do have designations, you can go in and like she's a CRB, you can go in and add those things to your profile. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. You saw on the slide earlier, and I've got a few designations. So I have a few badges. It's nice, it's clean, it's simple, and you can add teams. So if you are in a team, you can go ahead and add the team member there in a bio, and then it'll show you what your active listings are in the marketplace, what you and your team have on there. And again, it's a mini website for you. In this case, it also shows you rating and reviews, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and recommendations. And then I've plugged it into my social media so that it actually shares my social media posts, which helps with cross-population of those two. So that is very simply your profile. So you can go through and add your information and look at colors and set up, but it's truly the simplest thing you're going to do. And in our other lead gen series, we did a session on bios, why they're important, what to write, and how to write them. And you want to make sure that you have that and you can copy and paste your long bio in here. Don't worry about space. Recommendations are just what they sound like. You can go add a recommendation from someone who's given you feedback on the job you've done or how you performed when you worked with them. And then ratings and reviews are people who've actually scored you and when given feedback, like on Yelp or Amazon. And you should absolutely ask for these. And we'll talk about more of that in just a minute. Okay. All right. So again, ratings and reviews. So see where I had a client rating, and mine is 4.9 on 9 reviews. By the way, I have not. I have tied in my real satisfied. So you'll see these are my real satisfied. So for those of you who are with CBE and listening to this, you already have real satisfied accounts. And we'll talk about that in just a bit. Recommendations are, again, these are people who are recommending your service. They do not have to be past clients, unlike reviews. Recommendations can be a loan officer who gives you a recommendation, or someone you go to church with, or a family member, or whoever can give you those recommendations. And then you can actually also look in Realtor.com once you've logged in, and these are all part of your profile. You can go down to performance, and we're going to look at listing performance. And these numbers are a little skewed because we have a brand new listing in there. But you can look at the history of your results, what people are looking at your listings over what period of time. And I can go back and let's just say the past 30 days. I'm sorry, last 6 months rather. I can see I've had 55,400 impressions on our listings over a period of time. If you've got a lot of listings, and you can look at these numbers, this is a great selling tool. Go to the seller during your listing appointment and say, look, we're using Realtor.com, we're using it well, I'm sure you've heard of it. Look at these impressions we've had over a period of time on our listings. And it'll show you what it is year over year from contrasting numbers and things if you're really into that. It'll tell you the number of leads you've generated from that, and then you can go look at the different listings. So that's your listing performance. You can look at your profile. This is you, and you can see that Angel's had 3,000 people who have actually went to her profile on Realtor.com to check out who she is. That's a lot of people over this period of time who have checked and seen her profile and seen what she's about, where she is, and it'll show you what months you've done better and where they actually looked at your profile, what they were looking for. All right, and then let's go to listings. That's why we're here. So that's your personal profile. So our listings, it shows us how many results we've had on our listings. We can look at past leads here that have been contacted us, who they were when they contact, and what we did to respond to them. And then listing performance, again, shows us where we are there. So I'm going to go to my listings now, our listings now. And you can see this is a brand new one. And here's one of the things I love best. It shows me where my completeness is. So again, these are new listings. Sandy Ridge, we'll talk about that one later. On Summerfield, it shows us that we are where we are filling out all the information. This one's only been on the market for 7 days. It's already had 99 views, which is outstanding. And then here you can see where there's an add seller button, right? So I added John Kinsley is the contact we have for the builder we represent, and then I've added myself. And what happens is we get an email, and you can set those emails up on a routine basis for the client. So if I want to get a copy of this report, or I can set up my seller to get these as well, I'm going to put in my name, my email address. I know how to spell my name, I really do. Okay. I can't. I'm trying to type around the microphone here. I can add myself as an agent, as a seller. I will automatically get these emails. And I'm telling you, I've been using these for a couple of years. Sellers absolutely love getting the report that shows activity on their listings. And they'll call you and go, look, there's been more activity this week or less activity. What can we do? And if you're seeing over a period of time less and less activity, it's probably because they know they need to lower their price. You can type in a message here for them, and then you choose how often they actually get this report, whether it's once, only one time do they get it, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. I tend to go with bi-weekly on these reports for both me and the seller. And then I can hit add the seller. If I want to add the other spouse or partner, then I can go in and just add seller again and go through that and enter a name and email address. And now they get reports on a routine basis on the activity for Realtor.com. Sorry. Under contacts, this is going to be the people who we've added as sellers in our contacts or people who have generated leads. So you'll get your lead by email and text. I'll let you know that it's there. And then you can receive a call from your Realtor.com profile, and it was a buyer and what they were asking for. Okay, and it does work on caller ID as well. So sometimes you'll see weird titles in there. So that's the brief overview of the, again, your last lead is here, tell you how many number of leads you're working in the last 30 days. On your dashboard here, it'll tell you about your newest listing, how many search results displayed, how many people clicked on it. So out of 4.4 thousand results, 99 people actually clicked on it out of those numbers. Of course, it's new, but we want to get those numbers up. So that means maybe a new photo, new description, something that will make them want to go and grab it. All right. Again, I'm going to check real quick for text to make sure everybody's still with us. All right, cool. Okay. All right. So that's the overview of Realtor.com. And again, you get there by going to Realtor.com, click on Login, and click on Real Estate Professional. If you don't have a login, you can walk through the forgot password process. It's important to note that the email address you have in MRIS, or now Bright MLS, needs to match the email address you have in Realtor and Zillow. That's how listings are fed to your account. And it's how you're going to log in. So the same email address you're using in Bright MLS needs to also be used in Realtor and Zillow. All right. Realtor.com also has some resources and assets for you as an agent. So you can click on those marketing assets when you're in the profile, and it'll help you walk through setting up your Realtor.com profile. There's business planning. You don't really need that. Coach Simple does way better job, and you already have access to that. There are marketing assessments and planning assessments to see how you're doing and what you can do to enhance your business and your listings on Realtor.com. And then there's also a new newsletter. So if you're looking for content to send out to your client, they give it to you for free with our partnership with Realtor.com. So you can go to the Housing Trends e-newsletter and get some of that content to mirror up with the stuff that Poppy and Angel create for you and that you can find all over the place. And then listing presentation, again, we already give you all that information through Cloud CMA and PowerPoint stuff, but if you want to add some of those assets there, you can grab those too. So there is some stuff on Realtor.com to help you out. All right, now Zillow is the bigger monster. It is the one that offers a whole lot more exposure, more resources. And when you get there, just like Realtor, Zillow, for the consumer, starts off with buy, rent, sell, and estimate. They know what they're the clients are asking for, so they have it right there. And notice down here that they actually have video walkthroughs already listed as a primary. They are pushing very hard for you and I to do Zillow video walkthroughs in our listings. That they're pushing that way higher in the rankings than any other listing, regardless of price or newness or days in the market or any of that. The video walkthrough is one of the most critical things you can do to get your listing populated at the top of the list. Now, video walkthroughs require one of two things. A individual who I've asked HD Bros yesterday, I haven't heard back from them to see if they're a preferred Zillow person or not, but your vendor has to be certified by Zillow, and I don't know what that process is. And there is somebody in town. Actually, hold on a second. I'll tell you who we confirmed yesterday was. Hold on 1 second. I should have had this in my hands. Sorry. Cynthia James Photography. So Cynthia James Photography is advertising and is confirmed she is a Zillow approved photographer. She can upload videos straight to Zillow on your listings on your behalf, and they will go in there. If it is not a Zillow approved photographer or videographer, then it has to be something you do through the Zillow app. They say this is for consistency. They no longer allow us to just upload any old video like we used to. We used to put links to YouTube or Matterport or whatever. Now it has to be a Zillow approved vendor, or you, the agent, have to use the Zillow app in order to do that. So let me show you real quick what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. Okay, perhaps my iPhone does not want to do this today. Or I didn't log into the web. Hold on 1 second. We'll get this done. It's thinking about it. It really is. I forgot to connect my phone to the Wi-Fi, so I can't connect to show you this thing yet. Okay, there we go. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go to Zillow. If you go download the regular Zillow app, okay, that you find in there that the consumers get to get. If you go and log into the Zillow app, there is a bar. Right there at the top, it says open the Premier Agent app. Now, as a Coldwell Banker Lead agent, all of you have Premier Agent app on your phone. So I'm going to go log in here. And I forgot to mention this. Zillow, because they want to be everything to everybody, allows you to connect your Realtor.com and Homes.com leads to your Zillow account. So whatever. Okay. So I'm going to go to listings and video. And then you'll see a list of the listings that you, either you as an agent or you and your team have. And you see the gray button there that says add video. You can click there. And I'm not going to get too far. I don't want to add a video in my office to our listing. And then I can go here to add a video. It's going to ask to use my camera. And then it's going to tell me what I need to do. So my videos are limited to 2 minutes. Look at where I want to showcase, what I want to talk about. It talks about lighting. You can have sound or not. You can add clips together, and then they'll give you an example of what best practices look like. And then it'll let me go through, and it's going to look sideways to you here, but it'll let me go through and take the video as I talk about it, and save it to my property. So I'm going to hit cancel here, and hopefully it'll record all that goofiness to my listing. All right, so that's it. You'll see that button at the top to add video. They're really pushing this on each video to do walkthrough videos, and they are promoting those listings higher than those who have it. All right.
right? Get rid of this, and then we're going to go down here and take a look at our Zillow listing. Okay, so Zillow wants to push those videos through the mobile app. Again, on Zillow, you're going to have a profile here, and you're going to have the same information on Realtor.com. You could copy and paste here. I would recommend you have different content because Google will index it differently, but you're going to see the 5 reviews, or actually I have 8 reviews, and 5 out of 5 stars. Oh, nope, I had 5, sorry. 5 out of 5 stars and 5 reviews. I'm part of the elite team, and that is something we're working on for the whole company to benefit from this cross contamination, so to speak, of all of our listing data. So in this profile with those 5 reviews, it was important to get those 5, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about easier ways to get more than that. And the reason it was important is Zillow said we are basically only going to show profiles unless a consumer searches for your name if you have a minimum of 5 reviews. So you need 5 reviews. And so once I got those, I kind of stopped. So you're going to go to Zillow.com, click up on the right-hand side, you'll see Agent Hub, and when you click on that, you'll have access to your listings, your account, dashboard. Don't worry about you probably don't have my website on there. That's an extra paid service, and it's not worth it, so don't worry about it. Account advertising training, and they have actually pretty good classes. When you log in, you'll see your listings here on the web page, and again, we've talked about adding video and managing those listings. You can add way more photos and a lot longer description than what's in MLS. So it automatically pulls over, and you need to go in and edit every one of these listings a day or two after you have them. We have, for those who've been with us for a while, we were having a problem with the Zillow feed. The way it was set up before, we have resolved that. All the listings are on there, and you're usually on there within 15 minutes now. It used to be 2 days. 15 minutes of you entering it or making a change or reflected on Zillow. And when you are there and you're looking at your listings, you'll realize that there's a lot of work that can be done. So again, this was brand new, which is why there's no photo put over from that. But we're going to go again to Zillow. So under Zillow, we're going to go to the Agent Hub. We're going to go to our listings. And you used to have to go search for your listings on Zillow and then claim them. You no longer have to do that. Now I can go to my listing, and again, this is a new listing, and that's why you don't see all that information there. I'm going to go to the listing, and I can edit the listing. When you edit the listing, the information at the top, your price and home status, is pulled directly from MLS. You can't edit it here, but you can add more photos. You can add a lot more photos. You can also change the order of the photos that have been put into Zillow from MLS if you wish. And you can see we can add a couple here that we couldn't put in MLS. We can add them where they have signs in the yard, or we're standing in front of it, or people in it if you really want to. You can add the virtual reality tour. So in this case, we actually added, in this case, not this one, but another one. We added the 3D tour from Matterport, and we're working on a different 3D tour solution. And then I can go and change any of this information here that was put over to the correct, add open houses, and websites. If you've got a website set up on like your site or a single listing website, which all of you have for your listings through Listen to Leads, you can put that in there and then add more content. The more content, the more it stands out, the higher it ranks in the searches, and the more the buyer is happy with it and can engage the listing better. All right. So we talked about the Zillow Agent app. The Premier app lets you manage all your leads that come in one place. They let you update your profile on your phone, and then also allow you to manage your listings in there. I like the Zillow Mortgage app, so we're going to try to show you why. This is kind of more of an honorary introduction to it. Okay, so in the Zillow Mortgage app, I love having this app, and again, it doesn't bother me that it's from Zillow. No one else has produced one quite as well, but this is good to give to your buyers. It is also good for you to have on your phone for questions. So let's say that I'm working with a buyer who's interested in making an offer on a home, and the asking price is $260,000. And so I'm looking at this going, okay, guys, look, you're approved for $300,000. They're asking $260,000. You're offering $240,000. You're putting 10% down. Your interest rate, the lender told me about 3.69%. The property taxes in this area are a little lower. So let's say they are at 1%. Homeowners insurance, you said your insurance company is charging $725, and there are POA fees of $100, $75 a month. All right. So and you're looking at a 30-year term. This you can see as I'm editing on the left-hand side, you see the payment breakdown shows you that $994 a month go to principal, $106 to insurance, $60 homeowner insurance, $275 a month to property taxes. Your total payment is roughly $1,435, and I can swipe to the left, and this shows me an amortization chart. It shows me at the end of that 30 years what they're paying, right? It also shows what's paid to interest, what's remaining balance, and how long it takes to pay off, etc. All right, so I can show them all that or just give it to them, and I can click share, and I can email this to my client directly if I'm just talking to them on the phone. But what I really like is, look, folks, you guys are, they're asking 260, you offer 240, they're countering at 250. Before you get all crazy, let me just show you here that at 250,000, your payment isn't even $100 more a month. It's 35, 40, whatever dollars it was. And you can show them in real time what an impact is on the change and say, okay, so it's 1,490. Let's go back to what you're offering them, 1,435. Do you really want to let this house go over $60 a month? Whatever the difference is. So I'm a big fan of this. And it has not only the payment calculator, it's the affordability calculator where you can say, all right, let's say their income is $75,000 a year and it's a single income household. They have no money for down payment. Their other debt is about $900 a month between car and everything else, and their interest rate is going to be about 4.1. Then you can afford a home about $109,995. And then it shows them how long it'll take to pay off in 30 years, what they're paying down each month. Cool. So anyways, that is the mortgage app. I'm a huge fan of it and use it a lot with clients. Okay. Now, another feature for Zillow, other than maintaining your leads and your profiles, is the ability to search for potential leads as a listing agent. So you go to Zillow, search for Fredericksburg or Gainesville, wherever you are. Go up here to listing type and click off on all the different checkboxes except for Make Me Move. So Make Me Move are those people, those sellers who are not represented, who are not in the market, who have said, if I can get the price I'm looking for, I will sell my home. And so you can see on the right-hand side what the listing is, click on it and see how crazy they are about their asking price. And honestly, as much as you want to say negative things about the estimates, when you look at this one and it says 1.1 million is the asking price, the estimate 623,000, you know it's probably not $300,000 off. So again, listing type, do your search in the area, listing type, deselect everything except for Make Me Move. And I think next month we're doing our class on expired and FSBOs and how to convert them and some tools and resources to make that easier. But in the short, you could just call these people now. Hey, look, I noticed that you've been 60 days on Zillow. You've only got 10 photos. You're asking for 1.1 million. How you feeling? You feel like somebody's made the offer, you may acquired. Is it time to maybe list with a professional who can actually get this sold? So again, that's a great feature. Make Me Move in Zillow for lead gen. The other lead generation opportunity is under Zillow Advice. Trulia has this as well. Matter of fact, they probably did a little better, but again, traffic's being pulled away from there and you can't do everything. So focusing on just these two sites instead of 400 other sites is probably a better deal for your business plan. So in this case, we're going to go to advice area. So you set up your Zillow account, you set up your profile, and then you allow, you'll get emails on a pretty routine basis. Like I get at least one a week. And I don't answer most of them, but every once in a while I do. And there'll be a question, a general question, where somebody will say, why is this house still in the market? Or a few years ago, me personally converted one of these questions into a seller. And her question was basically asking, can I separate part of my land to pay off the mortgage? And the answer, of course, is no, because of the way the mortgage was structured. But we entered into a phone call after me spending about 5 minutes answering it and wound up with a sell, and she referred somebody to me 6 months later. So 2 sales out of 5 minutes of advice. So Zillow.com/advice. Make sure your profile's set up. Make sure you've entered your zip code that you serve, because that's where you're going to get these emails from. And take the time to go and answer these questions. Unlike General Lead, you can answer these questions 3-4 hours the next day and still get some traction on them. I tend to let other agents answer 2 or 3 of these and then come in with better information or different information than the approach they took. And I always end with a call to action. Just be careful that you are not. Just be careful that you are not giving legal advice. That if they want to know how to subdivide land, give them a link to the county about how to subdivide land, and then say, oh, by the way, maybe you should call me before you do that, so you know what it's worth, and we can see if it's part of a plan maybe help you get more money. And then leave your email address, phone number, although it's already in your profile. So Zillow.com/advice is a great place to start. Zillow also has Zillow Academy under the Premier Agent Resource Center that you have because of your relationship with us at Coldwell Elite. And they have really good classes, believe it or not. There's some great stuff, but they're between 20 minutes and 2 hours, depending on the webinar. And it doesn't just focus on Zillow, it focuses on all of real estate. So great place to go. They've got some scripts, they've got some templates, they've got some marketing pieces for you to look at. It's pretty good stuff. Your profile on these sites matter, and I cannot stress this enough, and I repeatedly come back to this, and I still see, just to be honest with you guys, badly written bios and horrible profile pictures. They're pixelated, they're old, you've cropped somebody out, whatever it is, you've got to do better at your business photos. They've got to be crisp, they've got to be contemporary, and they have to be high definition. Bio the same way. Make sure you don't have any spelling errors. We've talked about this in other classes. Use Grammarly or a Hemingway app. There's a free app to help you with that. Or contact Poppy if you need a fresh look at your bio. She's very, very gifted and talented in writing bios and helping you figure out what a consumer wants to hear or read. And then lastly, make sure your contact information is there and accurate. You can either use your office number, or I really recommend you just put your cell phone number in there for the quickest contact. And then the client also feels like they've got a direct line to you and they can text you, and it makes them feel like they're more connected than a corporate phone number. Make sure your web page is on there, otherwise it defaults to the company page. And just make sure it's updated about every year, every 18 months. You should be checking truly a realtor, Zillow, Coldbanker, Elite.com, all those sites to make sure you're happy with new photos, contact information, and bios. They really do heavily impact the consumer's decision to reach out to you and ask for information. But honestly, it tells a story about you. It's your first handshake. And if it's a bad photo or an old photo, or it's not professional, or it's pixelated, if your bio is short and abrupt and boring and without any life, that's who they assume you are. So make sure you're working on that. Also, the importance of feedback. That we've entered a huge cultural change in the past 2 years, where Amazon and Yelp and all those ratings heavily matter, and there is absolutely no industry expert out there who doesn't tell you that that feedback isn't going to heavily influence not only your business now, but certainly your business in the future. So getting your clients to give those testimonies is important. Now, for us, we hooked you up with Real Satisfied. Real Satisfied automatically, if you don't know what it is, you haven't played with it, go to leadscoop.com/resources. Again, for those who are new, you should be going that page a lot. Realtor.com/resources, and check out the Real Satisfied page, and it'll tell you what it is, tell you how to log in, get your account set up if you haven't already. Hopefully, I really hope all of you have. It's important. The feedback requests go out to every transaction you end automatically from our staff. So you don't have to do anything to solicit that feedback. The feedback is automatically populated to Realtor.com. However, Zillow does not allow third parties to send feedback. In Real Satisfied, and if you go to Elite Scoop Resources, you're going to find how to do this. You can get the feedback your client has already given you, right? If they finish Real Satisfied through the survey we sent, and you can, I forgot what they call it, I just drew a blank on it, but you can go and encourage, I think it's called encourage feedback. You can go encourage your client to push one button and it'll post the feedback they've already given you to Zillow on your account. So it's all set up for it's automatic, but you have to manually go ask for it. That's a condition of Zillow. They don't want automated feedback to populate the space. So again, you have a real satisfied profile already. Again, you really need to make sure that it's all set up and it is accurate. And your testimonies are given through this portal and then pushed out to Realtor.com, and then you can ask them to also put them on Zillow. So that's it. That is your overview of what aggregators are, why they're important, how you should address them, some tricks between Zillow and Realtor to encourage more lead generation, better public profiles, and how to manage your listings to get buyers quicker. This is, again, all part of the EliteScoop.com LeadGen series. I hope that if you have not done so already, you go watch the rest of that series again and make sure you are putting this in its place, because all of these things build off of each other. That is my time for us today. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to sit with us, to go through some ways to make your business better and better understand how all these things work so that you can get more business and have a better end of 2017 and 2018. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to send them over. You all have my contact information. Have a great day.